I call your name, every fear is banished from here. When you call my name, I'll come running, running to you. And you say, come to me. Spread your wings, catch the wind, he's carrying you.
Shalom and welcome to Jerusalem Dispatch ICEJ UK. This is the ministry that brings you a closer connection to Israel and the Jewish people through the International Christian Embassy at Jerusalem UK. And in this month's programme, we shall be discussing the Israeli-Iran crisis, how Israel carried out decisive airstrikes against Iran's nuclear facilities and targeting the Iranian Revolutionary Guards in the hope of regime change, and also ending this totalitarian regime's nuclear weapons program that has constantly threatened Israel and the Jewish people and the rest of the world. And in this month's programme, I'm joined by my good friend Len Grates, who's the Operations Director for ICJ UK, together with our special Jewish guest, Stephen Jaffe, representing Magen David Adom UK. So welcome to the programme. And I'll start off with you, Len. Always good to see you, Len. Just unpack for us how the ministry has really stepped up to the plate, particularly as we see this major crisis going on between Israel and Iran, and Israel having to take out Iran's nuclear facilities in what was an audacious and daring mission to destroy Iran's nuclear weapons.
Yeah, well, it's great to be back, Simon, with you, and it's a delight to have Stephen with us as well today. Well, you know, the International Christian Embassy was born out of a crisis in 1980 when the embassies of the world moved out of Jerusalem in response to the Israeli government declaring Jerusalem to be the eternal capital of the Jewish state. And so as with Israel, we're always coping with crises because there always seems to be some sort of crisis cropping up. And of course, we were born in crisis, and we've sought to respond to the crises over the years, and this one too. Obviously, prayer has been a major part of our involvement in the last couple of weeks, but also just getting news out there. You know, the truth is so rare in the news these days, and trying to get information out which is truthful, which is reliable, and also trying to raise further funds to react to the results of some of these terrible incidents that took place from the bombings in the land. And you know, this is where the bomb shelters that we've been providing for the last 20 years have really come into their own. And we would encourage, you know, the viewers, if you want to help Israel, then these are the very practical things that can really make a difference and save lives. Bomb shelters, and also just addressing the homeless. You know, we forget that. You know, we hear of the casualties, but actually there are, well, I don't know how many, but maybe 40, 50,000 people who are homeless because of these bombings that have been going on in Israel. So, you know, if you can help us addressing these, then the need is there always.
Wonderful, thank you. And Stephen, you're a good friend of mine, you're a good friend of Len's, you're good friends of the Ministry of ICJ UK, so it's an absolute pleasure for you being here representing the Jewish community as well as the great organisation which is Magen David Adom UK, Israel's National Emergency Service. So share with us a little bit about your background for our viewers who don't know who you are, and the superb role that you do in reaching out to the evangelical Christian community that loves Israel, and you're doing a great job doing that.
Well, thank you, Simon, firstly, for having me. A big thank you to Len and ICEJ. It's an organisation which I'm proud to work with alongside for many, many years. So I'm delighted to be here. Thank you. So yeah, I'm in a kind of an unusual role of being outreach from the Jewish community to the Christian world, and particularly that section of the church which stands with Israel. And thankfully, Magen David Adom is a tremendous platform for that. So I would be travelling up and down the country. I was in Inverness only a week or so ago, speaking to a Friends of Israel group up in the Highlands of Scotland. So amazing people, and I'm blessed that I can travel up and down the country, speaking to pastors, speaking to congregations, to Friends of Israel groups from the Jewish community, to give that, I think, mutual encouragement between Jews and Christians at this time, because we are under a fierce attack alongside the events in the Middle East. Here in this country, Israel is under a huge attack from politically, from in so many different ways. So we are, as those people standing with Israel in solidarity and friendship, I think we need to reach out to each other, and I'm blessed to be able to play a role in that.
You play an amazing role in that. But also share with us your ties to the International Christian Embassy, Jerusalem, UK, and your thoughts on the vital humanitarian aid that this ministry provides to Israel and the Jewish people, including looking after Holocaust survivors, giving rucksacks to school children, and then rebuilding those kibbutzes that were so devastated by Hamas on October the 7th.
So my connections with ICEJ go back to the 1980s, because I'm from Belfast originally, and we have a very active branch of ICEJ in Northern Ireland, and I've been blessed to know their director, Brian Sylvester, literally for most of my adult life. That is the depth of friendship. And Brian, I think, always had that vision of, in addition to everything that's Israel focused, to also working alongside the local Jewish community, which is very small in Northern Ireland. But through his perseverance and his love for that community, he has over the years really worked amazingly. So my connections with ICJ go back a very long time indeed, and I work very closely with the English ICJ, and I know representatives in Scotland and in the Republic of Ireland. What strikes me about it is that it is global. There are so many countries where ICEJ is represented, and that gives it enormous strength. And I've been fortunate to be in Jerusalem during the Feast of Tabernacles and seeing that march come down the hill into Jerusalem, the city centre, to see the flags of all the nations, to see prophecy really fulfilled in our day that the nations would come to Jerusalem to worship. So I'm, really so grateful for ICJ and what they do both in the UK and globally. In terms of the practical side, a Holocaust home in Haifa, which they started and have run, is an unbelievable witness to Christian love to the Jewish people. To reach out to people, Holocaust survivors, towards the end of their lives, to give them a home. And that's just one of their projects. So it is amazing. It's saving lives. We'll talk, I'm sure, a little bit about the partnership between ICEJ and Magen David Adom, which is amazing as well. But it is a wonderful example of Christian friendship and solidarity, as Len has said, in good times and bad times, in crisis. It's not wavering in its support for Israel.
Excellent, and Brian's a great guy, and I've had the privilege of speaking so many times in Northern Ireland, and it's a special place with special people. And Len, do you want to just unpack for us some of the exciting conferences coming up this summer that the International Christian Embassy Jerusalem are putting on all across the United Kingdom?
Well, this year's been a little bit different from previous years because we've doubled the number of conferences, because we've thought we need to go out to the people rather than expecting the people to come to us. So we've done a number of regional conferences. We've just completed 2 in Scotland. One was an event with the Jewish community. And coming up, we have events in London in September. In November, we have 2 other events taking place. And if you want to know more about our activities and where these locations are, please contact the office, and we'll gladly let you know exactly where they are and who the speakers are. It's been a very, very profitable year. We had a new event in Swindon this year, and we had a full house of people who have never been to these sort of events before. And so it was great to do a little bit of outreach into the Christian community, and to see some of their eyes open to see God's purposes for Israel and the Jewish people.
Fantastic. And as a representative of the Jewish community, Stephen, why is it so important that Christians watching today's recording of Jerusalem Dispatch ICJ UK get behind the ministry to be that vehicle of blessing, particularly in this hour of need when we are discussing the Israel-Iran crisis, and we've seen the devastation that Iran's ballistic missiles has had on residential and popular areas throughout Israel.
So I would say, from even a UK perspective, the Jewish community feels very alone. And I think it's, Christian ministries have a tremendous role to play in showing that solidarity and support for the Jewish community in this country. Looking at what's happening in the Middle East, Israel is in its hour of need. The impact of the conflict on the population there. I mean, it's a very resilient population, but it's been through a lot in terms of the trauma of October the 7th that we all experienced as friends of Israel. But the Israeli population needs to know that there are supporters around the world standing with it, because those who hate Israel are very loud, very aggressive, and the Israeli population needs to know that it has friends. So I would, really encourage Christians to get involved. ICJ is a wonderful platform for that. There are other ministries as well to show that support for Israel. It is, I think, the time is now, Simon, it really is.
Absolutely, thank you. And just to give you an overview of the ministry that is the International Christian Embassy Jerusalem UK, we've got this wonderful promo video called Jerusalem, Your Embassy, and how the International Christian Embassy is your embassy with your representatives in the land of Israel, based in Jerusalem. Take a look.
Jerusalem, the center of the Middle East, the center of the world, the city of God, and right here almost 40 years ago, led by the Holy Spirit, Christian leaders from around the world established the International Christian Embassy Jerusalem to demonstrate to the Jewish people that they are not alone, but that millions of Bible-believing Christians are standing with them, still believing in God's ancient covenant promises that He made to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Today, the Christian Embassy has become an active voice of support to the Jewish people. Over the next few minutes, you will meet our team, and more importantly, you will meet those people who we could bless here in the land of Israel. It is such an exciting time to be your embassy, your voice here in the land of Israel. Take a look.
It is God's design to make Israel a light unto the nations. We at the ICJ are passionate about Israel and about her relationship with the world. This is why we have celebrated the Feast of Tabernacles in Jerusalem since 1980. We have now branches in more than 90 countries all over the world, and we connect believers from more than 170 nations with Israel. The plan of God for Israel also includes the plan for all the nations. This is why we are so excited, and we are looking forward to seeing even more growth in the years to come.
My name is Emma Villarreal. I represent the country of Mexico. Zechariah 14 talks about how all the nations of the world are going to come together to celebrate the Feast of Tabernacles. And we don't want to wait into the new Jerusalem for that to happen. We want as heaven as it is on earth, so we're starting right now.
Through the love and financial support of Christians like you, elderly Holocaust survivors are being taken care of. But this home is not just buildings. It's a loving community where we as ICJ have become, as some residents would say, the family they once lost. What an awesome privilege. And with the ongoing expansion and the new developments, we are excited about the future of this ICJ home for Holocaust survivors.
ואני מודה עם כל הלב באמת לשגרירות מה שהם עושים בשבילנו. שאחרי מה שאנחנו עברנו, יש דבר כזה, ואני מלא תודה. אין לי מילים להגיד כמה שזה יפה שאתם עוזרים לנו, ויש לי חיים מאוד נוחים שלא היו לי אף פעם בחיים.
Because of your partnership, we've been able to dramatically impact Israeli lives. Your giving has played an active role in transforming not only individual lives, but it also impacts the future of Israel. Through our work here in Israel, we've been able to provide comfort and be a voice of hope and reconciliation for the many people groups in this land.
כאילו היה שלב שהרמתי ידיים ואמרתי, אני לא עושה בגרות, לא הולכת לבית ספר. בזכות התוכנית, אני דווקא שואפת בעתיד להיות שם בשביל תלמידים כאלה.
המלגה שקיבלתי מהשגרירות הנוצרית ומזה שהבנתי שאנשים מסביב לעולם פשוט מאמינים בי ותומכים בי, אני יודעת שאשיג את החלום שלי.
ICEJ continues working to bring God's people home from the four corners of the earth. Because of your faithful giving, we have been able to welcome Jewish people to their biblical homeland of Israel through sponsoring flights, transportation assistance, and helping immigrants start a new life. It has been a privilege for the ICEJ to help fulfill the lifelong dreams of so many who have waited so long to return home, to reunite them with their families, and to be a part of their new beginning.
The Christian Embassy, Jerusalem, has been our friend for many, many years. Their donations and their help make days like today possible. Christians around the world, they are our best friends.
እና የበለጠ ደግሞ ለነሱ ምስጋና ነው የምናቀርበው። እኛ ምንም ማለት አንችልም። ውለታቸውን እግዚአብሔር ይክፈለው እና ደግሞ በዚህ እንዳያቆሙ እግዚአብሔር ይስጥልን። ውለታቸውን እግዚአብሔር ይክፈለው።
It is so exciting to see God rebuilding Zion, to see Him restoring His people back to their land. No matter where you live, you too can participate in what God is doing here in the land of Israel. Jesus said, "Whatever you have done to the least of my brethren, you have done to me." Today, you can show the love of Christ to His people. Let us be your embassy, your voice here in Jerusalem. And if you haven't yet partnered with us, go to icej.org/partnership and join us today.
So that is the history of the International Christian Embassy, Jerusalem, UK, and shows you that this is your embassy representing you in Jerusalem to be the blessing to Israel and the Jewish people. So if you haven't signed up to ICJ UK, why don't you do so that you're fully updated with everything that's going on with this exciting and dynamic ministry. Len, well, what can I say? The Feast of Tabernacles is still on. I know that during the recording of this program that the Israelis have closed their airspace because of the ballistic missiles that have been fired at Israel. But all hope and praying that come time of the Feast of Tabernacles, which is from the 6th of October to the 13th of October, the airspaces will be clear and flights will resume, and our viewers watching can attend this year's Feast of Tabernacles, which the theme is 10 from every nation. So can you share with us the importance of being in Jerusalem and being part of the Feast of Tabernacles?
Well, it's the biggest event that takes place on our calendar each year, and is one of the largest tourist events that take place in Israel every year.
It is the largest.
Yeah, well, it is, okay. I didn't want to boast too much. But it's interesting that this the title of this conference is 10 from every nation. And we're hoping literally to get 10 from every nation. That's the desire. But that scripture comes from the book of Zechariah, chapter 8, where it says that the people from the nations will take hold of the sleeve of a Jew. Maybe I could take hold of the sleeve of Stephen here, and says, I want to go with you because God's with you. Now, I don't know how that fits into replacement theology or any other theology, but the fact is that that is a prophetic statement that's going to happen. And this is, the embassy and the feast in particular is very much a prophetic feast. It's telling of our hopes and dreams and what we know will happen in the future. But it's so important to get the nations there, to fulfilling prophecy. If you go there to Jerusalem as a Christian from the nations, then you're actually working out prophetic words. You're actually physically being prophetically outworking God's purposes. And so we want to encourage people to go because it makes such a difference. And as Stephen mentioned, things like the Jerusalem March can tell the Jewish people, listen, you're not alone. And there's thousands, millions, if around the globe who are standing with you through this time, and more so in these days, like never before, with the rise of anti-Semitism, with these wars that are going on, when Israel is being, cornered by the nations and blamed for everything under the sun. We need to say, listen, you're not alone. We believe in you. We are with you, and we're standing here side by side, shoulder to shoulder, grasping onto your sleeves. We're not letting you go, and we know you won't let us go.
Amen to that. And Stephen, for our viewers watching who have never been to Israel, just share with us the importance of Christians visiting Israel, being in the land, seeing the Bible coming alive, and how they can be part of this special event, very special event, the Feast of Tabernacles this October.
So I've never met a Christian, Simon, who's visited the land of Israel and hasn't said that it was a profound impact on them. It is, as you say, the Bible comes alive. You can visit the sites that you've read about. That is amazing. The modern state of Israel with all its modern history, it is an impactful place to visit, but there's also the impact it has on the Israelis themselves. We've talked about it as being the biggest tourist event in Israel's calendar, and it's correct, it is. I've tried to book a hotel in Jerusalem during the feast, and it's packed tight. So it is an amazing thing in that respect. But beyond the impact on the economy, which has taken a hit, of course, because of the conflict, it is a tremendous gesture of solidarity with the Israeli people, and I know that is truly and deeply appreciated. That representatives of various Israeli political parties, for example, will come to the feast to speak there and to show their appreciation of that global support. And I think ICEJ's great strength is its global presence. That it is present on virtually every nation on this planet is an amazing platform that Israel can see that this is a network which extends right across continents in support of Israel. So I think visiting Israel is, I think it will have a profound impact on everyone who goes, and it also has impacts on the Israelis themselves.
Wonderful. So let's have a look at this promo video, which is 10 from every nation. And this is this year's Feast of Tabernacles. We know that Israel is in a crisis, and this is a bigger reason why you should go out there and stand in support and solidarity with Israel, as well as being part of a big Christian movement standing with Israel and the Jewish people at this critical time. Take a look.
Throughout history, God has always used a remnant, those who carry His heart, see things from God's perspective, and respond to God's word.
Zechariah 14:16. It shall come to pass that everyone left of the nations that came against Jerusalem shall go yearly to worship the King and to keep the Feast of Tabernacles.
Since 1980, believers from more than 200 nations have celebrated the feast, and we invite you to join us this year in Jerusalem.
So will you be one of the 10 from the UK that will go to Israel and represent this nation in Jerusalem, as we know this will happen during the millennial reign? Len, for our viewers watching who are interested in going and they're not afraid and they're bold and they're courageous, share with us how they can actually participate in this year's Feast of Tabernacles.
Well, hopefully we're going to take more than 10. In fact, we've got more than 10 already, and it's quickly filling up. So please contact the office and sign up. We want you to come with us. And if you can't be there, then we're hoping that again this year it's going to be broadcast online, and you can watch it on your laptop, your TV. It costs about £50. Contact our office and we'll send you all the details.
And you are here representing Magen David Adom, Stephen, UK, which is Israel's national emergency service. Tell us and unpack for us what MDA UK does, or what the Magen David Adom does in Israel, but also the partnership between MDA and ICJ UK.
So Magen David Adom is Israel's national medical emergency service. It's the ambulances that if you have visited Israel, you will have seen. and they're first responders. So you can imagine how they've had to gear up during this conflict, how they were impacted by October the 7th when 1,200 people were murdered in 24 hours, over 5,000 injured. If you look at UK population, compare it to Israel, it's as if, 8,000 people were murdered in a day and 35,000 injured. Can you imagine the impact that would have on the medical emergency services of this country? So it's a frontline service. Alongside the ambulances, MDA is responsible for collecting and processing over 90% of Israel's blood supply. It has a tremendously strategic, important role to play. Over 90% of the personnel are volunteers, and they can be from their late teens onwards, highly trained volunteers. But on the front line, when the sirens go off, when the Iranian missiles are striking Israel, obviously everyone has to get into a safe room. Magen David Adom personnel have to rush to that location. They don't have the luxury of going into a safe room. They just have to be there and respond as quickly as they can. They've had to rescue people out of destroyed buildings. It's harrowing and traumatic for the volunteers. But thank God it has withstood all the challenges and tests of this very challenging time for Israel. And we in the UK are able to support its work. So we have in all the countries a friends group for Magen David Adom, where we're raising funds, we're raising awareness about the work that they do, and it makes all the difference. It is saving lives. Thank God we have great partners and friends, including ICEJ, who have during even this last few months of conflict, they've committed themselves to getting ambulances, acquiring ambulances for Magen David Adom, the medibikes that enable first responders to get to a scene within minutes, paramedic equipment, safety equipment, because as I've said, the paramedics are putting themselves in huge danger by having to rush into scenes of bomb attacks or terrorist attacks or whatever it is. And ICJ have been tremendous friends of Magen David Adom. MDA UK, for example, has sponsored the work of Pastor John Hemus, who I know many viewers will know.
Absolutely.
Very practical, going out, they went out to a town called Masadeh up in the Golan Heights and renovated a Magen David Adom ambulance station. So that was a wonderful gesture of support and touched many, many Jewish and Christian hearts. So we thank God for the support of ICEJ, that they're with us in good times and bad times, and have really helped the organisation get through a period of tremendous crisis.
Amazing. And now on to kind of topic of discussion. What are your thoughts on the daring and audacious raid by the Israeli Air Force on Friday the 13th of June that became known as Operation Rising Lion to attack Iran's nuclear facilities to prevent the world's most dangerous regime having the world's most dangerous weapon, i.e. nuclear weapons?
Well, once again, Israel has not made lots of friends in the world for what they've been doing, but they've been doing what they needed to do. You know, I keep hearing people on the radio saying, well, the only way to sort this out is through talking, through dialogue. And of course, there's been dialogue going on for nearly 30 years, and it's not sorted the problem. So it's crazy to think that further talking is going to appease the Iranian regime. So it was just amazing the way it happened, and the way that Netanyahu and also President Trump deceived the world to think it's going to be a quiet weekend. I think Benjamin Netanyahu had said he's going to his son's wedding that weekend. So I guess the folk in Iran thought, oh yeah, well, we can have a quiet weekend this weekend. Nothing's going to happen. And of course, what they did was just incredible, getting the rule over the skies of Tehran was just a phenomenal thing. What other nation could do this? And then you've got the Mossad who are in the land and who are sending drones from within and killing these top-ranking military men. The only way I can describe Israel when it comes to wars is that they've got the advantage. They've got some hidden person on their side.
Absolutely. Adonai Seivot, the Lord of Armies, 100% there. And Stephen, just share with us how Israel is showing courage and bravery when the rest of the world is not. And that, it's been described that Israel is doing the world's dirty work in taking out Iran's nuclear weapons. So that wasn't only a threat to Israel, but a threat to the West as well.
Those were the words of the German Chancellor. Unfortunately not recognised by our own government, it has to be said. But the Iranian threat was never going to be confined to Israel. It wants to be the regional strongman. It has its ambition of taking over Mecca. That's an internal Islamic debate, but that was very much an Iranian aspiration. And the ballistic missiles that they have built, and there are hundreds of them, have a range of reaching Europe. So it was a direct threat, not just to Israel, but to the wider world, but not for the first time. We're old enough, Len and myself, and Simon, perhaps you as well, when Israel took out nuclear reactors in Iraq and in Libya and in other places, and was Syria, and was condemned by the world, only for it to be recognized that Israel had saved the world from, real dangerous threats. We can only pray that Iran's nuclear ambitions have been set back in a devastating fashion, because this is a regime that will use, they've said again and again, we will destroy the Zionist entity. That's their, the rationale behind it, but their ambitions are even wider than that.
And Len, do you want to read out a statement that was produced by the president of the International Christian Embassy in Jerusalem, Dr. Eugen Bühler, on this crisis with Israel and Iran?
Yes, this is from the ICJ president, and he simply says this: "The nation of Israel has woken this morning to the new reality of a direct war with Iran that will have major regional and global consequences. The Israeli military launched a wave of attacks against the prime Iranian targets overnight, including military leaders and installations and sites known to be involved in Iran's renegade nuclear weapons program. Iran is retaliating with its first barrage of drones and likely ballistic and cruise missiles," which of course it did do. The Israeli strikes came after decades of Iran's pursuit of nuclear weapon capabilities, as well as the Iranian regime's official, open and persistent genocidal threat to wipe Israel off the map. Israeli leaders have known of Iran's pursuit of nuclear arms to target the Jewish nation since at least the time of the Rabin government in the 1990s. Yet even then, Israel was clear in its firm policy never to allow a regional adversary to acquire weapons of mass destruction to use against the Jewish state born out of the ashes of the Holocaust. Israel proves its will to uphold this declared policy by striking the Iraqi nuclear reactor at Osirak in 1981. And the secret Khyber nuclear plant in Syria in 2007. Israeli leaders have now demonstrated their determination once again to strip any regional foe of the means to perpetrate a genocidal attack against the Jewish nation and people. Iran has been intransigent in the recent talks with the Trump administration regarding its right to enrich uranium. There is no such right. The International Atomic Agency also has found Iran in serious violation of its commitments and obligations to the world community concerning uranium enrichment activities and safeguards against nuclear proliferation. Israel's overnight strikes on Iran came as the Islamic regime had accumulated enough enriched uranium at near military grade levels to build at least 10 nuclear warheads. Thus, it is lurking perilously close to the nuclear threshold. Israel's action also amid a long and bitter war against Israel waged on Iran's behest by its many radical proxy terror militia in the region. Iran built up these regional proxy militia for the express purpose of acting as a first line of defense and deterrence to protect the ever-burgeoning nuclear facilities. Yet these proxy militia have been severely weakened by Israel over the past 20 months, and thus Israel leaders assess that now is the time to deal with the real source of the current conflict and regional instability, the Islamic regime in Tehran. Even the fate of the remaining Israeli hostages held by Hamas in Gaza is being dictated by Iran. Israel's decision to strike now also comes when it can rightly expect critical backing from the Trump administration, which tests Israel's nuclear intentions in recent talks only to hit a brick wall. The leadership of the International Christian Embassy, Jerusalem, urges our global family and all Christians and others around the world, please pray for the protection of the Israeli people and wisdom for Israeli leaders during this time of conflict and uncertainty. Also pray for a swift end to the escalation with a clear result of ending once for all the Iranian nuclear threat over Israel and the entire Middle East.
Thank you very much, Len, and thank you to President Jürgen Bühler, who is the president of the ICJ, based in Jerusalem. So let's have a look at this video produced by our friends at the Israeli Foreign Ministry, and this one's entitled, "When Your Enemies Come to Destroy You."
Israel launched Operation Rising Lion, a targeted military operation to roll back the Iranian threat to Israel's very survival. For decades, the tyrants of Tehran have brazenly, openly called for Israel's destruction. They've backed up their genocidal rhetoric with a program to develop nuclear weapons. In recent years, Iran has produced enough highly enriched uranium for 9 atom bombs. 9. We struck at the heart of Iran's nuclear enrichment program. We struck at the heart of Iran's nuclear weaponization program. We targeted Iran's main enrichment facility in Natanz. We targeted Iran's leading nuclear scientists working on the Iranian bomb. We also struck at the heart of Iran's ballistic missile program. I want to assure the civilized world, we will not let the world's most dangerous regime get the world's most dangerous weapons. The increasing range of Iran's ballistic missiles would bring that nuclear nightmare to the cities of Europe and eventually to America. Remember, Iran calls Israel the small Satan. It calls America the great Satan. Never again is now. Today, Israel has shown that we have learned the lessons of history. When enemies vow to destroy you, believe them. When enemies build weapons of mass death, stop them. As the Bible teaches us, when someone comes to kill you, rise and act first.
And Operation Rising Lion was nothing less than an absolute miracle to know that Israel it carried out an attack against a nation 20 times bigger than Israel, including its population, which is about 90 million, whilst Israel's population is just over 10 million. And yet this small little nation fought back against the most powerful military force in the Middle East. Stephen, share with us your thoughts, firstly on Operation Rising Lion, but also the very powerful statement and commitment of love and solidarity with Israel and the Jewish people by the president of ICJ, Dr. Jürgen Bühler.
Well, I'm a great fan of Dr. Jürgen Bühler. I get the ICJ publication Word from Jerusalem, and he is an amazing communicator. In English, what he's like in his native German, I wouldn't like to say, but my goodness, I think he gave a tremendous survey of the geopolitics of the situation and ended with prayer, which I think is absolutely right. And I was quite taken and moved by what you read there, Len. I think he had a real grasp, both in a longer term, but also what had happened in a very short term, how the various pieces had to come together to enable Israel to do what it has done. And to me, we're living through the Book of Esther. It's kind of event after event after event. There is a regime in Persia that wants to exterminate the Jewish people. Well, yeah, not for the first time. We see it in the Book of Esther, and as we read that book, God's name isn't mentioned significantly, but it is a test of faith to understand that God is in control of it all, and it isn't random event after random event. And so many things have fed into Israel's ability to attack Iran, from having Trump as president, not a given, but I don't think any other American president would have permitted it. Israel was able to knock out those proxies that Iran had at great expense over many, many years established right on Israel's border. Hezbollah, with more precision missiles than NATO, were there to protect Iran and enable Iran to reach the nuclear threshold. And yet Israel, through the pager operation, that almost so much has happened you can almost forget. But one event after another event after another event, but all pointing, I think, to an overall, a greater power acting behind
Absolutely.
the scenes.
And Stephen, only thinking really, had it not been for Israel's remarkable military operations after October the 7th to dismantle Hamas's terror infrastructure network, as well as that as Hezbollah, and then the knock-on effects of destroying Hezbollah meant that the Syrian regime under President Assad collapsed. The Iranians' closest ally in the region, and of course then it's acted like a domino. So in the light of Israel carrying out these strikes against Iran's nuclear facilities, there isn't that response that was expected on behalf of Hamas and Hezbollah and Syria, because Israel dealt with them. So the only option left to the Iranians was to fire ballistic missiles at Israel. In itself, that just shows you how much Israel has dismantled Iran's ring of fire that they spent billions and decades building up against Israel.
Absolutely. The fall of the Assad regime in Syria, I'd almost forgotten that in the whole, the welter of fast-moving events. The fact that Hezbollah has not responded, hasn't fired one missile from Lebanon over these last few weeks, shows how effective, as exactly as you put it, Simon, that these proxies were knocked out almost one by one, and Iran was exposed. Its air defense systems, Israel knocked out. So it was, an amazing set of what our secular commentators would say were tremendous coincidences. Well, we might see it differently. But yes, a lot of factors there that has enabled Israel to attack Iran directly, and please God, with a tremendous impact in holding back Iran's nuclear program and its ambitions to dominate the Middle East.
Absolutely. So let's have a look at this excellent presentation produced by the IDF, and this is saluting the heroes of the Israeli Air Force in their audacious raid against Iran's nuclear facilities, but also we have Donald Trump speaking about how he's got involved to destroy the nuclear facilities in Fordo.
The Israeli Air Force has redefined what it means to achieve air dominance since the launch of Operation Rising Lion. On the night of June 13th, around 200 IAF aircraft flew deep into Iranian airspace, operating for over 2 hours in enemy territory in one of the most complex and far-reaching operations in history. With precise coordination, the IAF dismantled Iran's nuclear infrastructure, crippling its ability to build nuclear weapons. It destroyed key missile systems, neutralized aerial threats, and struck critical intelligence and command centers. Senior military and intelligence figures behind Iran's terror networks were eliminated. Even 2,300 kilometers from Israel, the IAF hit its target with exact precision. This was the longest range strike in IAF history. This operation was a masterclass in modern warfare, and when Iran tried to strike back, Israel's multi-layered missile defense system was ready. A defense wall stretching from ground to space where threats, from drones to ballistic missiles, are intercepted before hitting Israel. This is how a nation is protected, not just with weapons, but with the will, strategy, and relentless precision of our soldiers. This is Israel's air power.
Thank you very much. A short time ago, the U.S. military carried out massive precision strikes on the 3 key nuclear facilities in the Iranian regime: Fordo, Natanz, and Esfahan. Everybody heard those names for years as they built this horribly destructive enterprise. Our objective was the destruction of Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity and a stop to the nuclear threat posed by the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. Tonight, I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated. Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace. If they do not, future attacks will be far greater and a lot easier. For 40 years, Iran has been saying, death to America, death to Israel. They have been killing our people, blowing off their arms, blowing off their legs with roadside bombs. That was their specialty. We lost over 1,000 people, and hundreds of thousands throughout the Middle East and around the world have died as a direct result of their hate. In particular, so many were killed by their general, Qasem Soleimani. I decided a long time ago that I would not let this happen. It will not continue. I want to thank and congratulate Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu. We worked as a team like perhaps no team has ever worked before. And we've gone a long way to erasing this horrible threat to Israel. I want to thank the Israeli military for the wonderful job they've done. And most importantly, I want to congratulate the great American patriots who flew those magnificent machines tonight, and all of the United States military on an operation the likes of which the world has not seen in many, many decades. Hopefully, we will no longer need their services in this capacity. I hope that's so. I also want to congratulate the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Raisin-Kane, spectacular general, and all of the brilliant military minds involved in this attack. With all of that being said, this cannot continue. There will be either peace or there will be tragedy for Iran far greater than we have witnessed over the last 8 days. Remember, there are many targets left. Tonight's was the most difficult of them all, by far, and perhaps the most lethal. But if peace does not come quickly, we will go after those other targets with precision, speed, and skill. Most of them can be taken out in a matter of minutes. There's no military in the world that could have done what we did tonight, not even close. There has never been a military that could do what took place just a little while ago. Tomorrow, General Kane, Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth will have a press conference at 8 a.m. at the Pentagon. And I want to just thank everybody, and in particular, God. I want to just say we love you, God, and we love our great military. Protect them. God bless the Middle East. God bless Israel. And God bless America. Thank you very much. Thank you.
And thank you, Mr. President Trump, for your courage and your bravery to join Israel, not only to protect Israel, but to protect the free world from Iran's nuclear weapons ambitions, and how the Iranian regime has vowed to destroy Israel and the West. And the simple message is that the enemies of Israel are our enemies as well, and this is what our own government need to comprehend and wake up to that reality. Len, it's interesting, is it? This mission was codenamed Operation Rising Lions, and it's based on Numbers chapter 23 verse 24 that says, look, a people rises like a lioness and lifts itself up like a lion. It shall not lie down until it devours the prey and drinks the blood of the slain. Give us your thoughts on how the Lion of Judah is roaring and tearing its enemy apart, i.e. the Iranian regime.
Well, you know, the scriptures also say that he who touches Israel touches the apple of God's eye. And if you do that, as many nations have done, then there is judgment. You know, God is not a theory. He's a reality. And he keeps his word. And he doesn't change. And he hasn't changed. And he's never will change. He's the same yesterday, today, and forever. And so when he says, you know, I'm going to raise my people up to be like a lion, then you can be guaranteed he's going to raise his people up to be like a lion. You know, he is the Lion of the tribe of Judah, as you mentioned. And he's also known as the Lord of heaven's armies, the Lord of hosts. You know, so we have this concept within Christianity that everything's always got to be lovey-dovey. But actually, God is a God of justice and a God of judgment. And we've seen that judgment worked out, unfortunately, through wars. But even in the book of Ecclesiastes, it says there's a time for war and a time for peace. And you know, it's not within our theology to allow this, because, as I say, we emphasize that God is a God of love. But the fact is that God has made promises and a commitment and a covenant with the Jewish people and Israel, with the land, and he's going to keep that. And if you mess about with God, you're in for serious trouble. You know, you can't do that. And whether you're a big nation with, you know, nuclear facilities or whatever, or whether you're just an individual, then watch out, I say. If you start pointing the finger and poking God in the eye, then you're going to be in some trouble. And so, you know, I would call all Christians and say, listen, just read your Bible. It hasn't changed. You know, what God hasn't sort of watered it down. You know, we're not in a new faith. We're in the faith of the Bible, which never changes. So I want to encourage our listeners, you know, to study the Bible and see the nature of God and how serious it is that you know, to cause Israel a problem. Just going back to Abraham, where it all started, you know, those who bless Israel, bless your descendants, I will bless. If you curse them, watch out.
Which leads me exactly what I want to bring up with our good friend here, Stephen. One thing I've taken away from Operation Rising Lion and Israel's audacious and incredible military airstrikes on Iran nuclear facilities is based in Genesis 12, 1-3, as Len correctly said, I will bless those who bless you and I will curse those who curse you. And any nation and any empire that has risen up to attack Israel or the Jewish people has been consigned to the waste bin of history. Share with us how this is the fate that lies in wait for the Iranian regime, because there is no other nation on this earth that has hated or despised Israel and the Jewish people more than the Islamic Republic of Iran.
Yep, so Iran, as you've said, its central purpose has been to eradicate what they describe as the Zionist entity. They will not even refer to the nation of Israel. So, in my opinion, the country has been held under a curse for many, many years, since the revolution. In fact, back in 1979, the country has been held with tremendous repression. The people there, sadly, because there are many wonderful Iranian people, but they've lived under a repression that we in the West couldn't even contemplate. There's a growing church in Iran, an underground church. Christianity is growing there, but in opposition to facing persecution, Iran executes more people than any other government on this planet. They persecute anyone who stands in their way. Their economy is a basket case. This country has been under a curse for quite a while, and unless there's a major turnaround, unless I believe there is a change of regime, then I'm afraid this curse will only get worse for the people living there, and that is sad to see, because I do believe that many Iranian people do not want. I've been quoted figures as many as 80% of the Iranian people do not support the regime that they live under. So it is, I think you're quite right, when we look historically, and many empires and many nations have turned against the Jewish people and have paid a terrible price, because anti-Semitism will bring with it a curse on those who have their hearts so taken over by hatred.
Absolutely. So let's have a look now on how the Ministry of ICJ UK is helping Israel, particularly in light of these Iranian ballistic missiles that have caused so much devastation and destruction in Israel.
Today we're in Bat Yam. You can see behind me the effects of an Iranian missile that hit this building just on the evening of Saturday night, Sunday morning. It hit on the 6th floor, and all the floors underneath collapsed, which led to the several floors above it collapsing as well. And this is what you see here in rubble. The amazing thing is, those who were in shelters in this building were saved almost without any injury. Those who were in the stairwell came out and just were able to brush the dust off, and they were okay. Unfortunately, Those who were in this part of the building, which was the living rooms and other parts of the house, 7 people were tragically killed that night. We're here today to witness what's happened, and more than 1,500 to 2,000 people today are without homes and evacuated into hotels. We'd like to see what we can do to help.
And I can almost guarantee you won't see the images quite like that on our mainstream TV news coverage of Israel's crisis with Iran. And this is your opportunity to really help Israel in an hour of need, particularly after the Israelis have seen their communities absolutely devastated by Iran's ballistic weapons. We're down to the last 2 minutes left of the programme, and it's been an excellent programme. It's gone very fast, but share with us, Len, how our viewers watching the programme today can really get involved in the ministry of ICJ UK. They can sign up and support Israel through this wonderful organisation that is really providing so much humanitarian aid and love in such a practical and loving way.
Well, we really believe that we are your hands and feet. You know, we are there expressing your love to the Jewish people on your behalf. We say, you know, we're your embassy in Jerusalem. And so, you know, your giving is impacting people's lives. You know, we're so blessed that we've been able to give millions of pounds, millions of dollars over the years, and even this year to Israel to support them in their time of crisis. But the crisis is there even greater today. We need to show, you know, our support, that they're not alone, that, you know, they need to know that they've got friends, and that we're not just talking about friendship, but we're putting our friendship into action. You know, it's not words that's needed; it's action in these days. So I would encourage our viewers to be generous in giving. It's going to touch people's lives, big style. And so, you know, thank you for those who have given, and please keep giving so we can bless the Jewish people in Israel.
And within 30 seconds, Stephen, share with us how our viewers watching this programme today can be a blessing to Israel and the Jewish people by supporting the great work that the Ministry of ICJ UK is doing to stand with Israel, particularly this time of crisis. 10 seconds.
10 seconds. Well, I just want to say thank you for what ICJ does. It's not taken for granted. It's deeply, deeply appreciated, and it is making a difference, whether in prayer, practical support, advocacy for Israel, and please God, visiting Israel for the feast.
Wonderful.
That's hugely appreciated.
So Stephen and Len, thank you so much for being this month's guests on Jerusalem Dispatch. Thank you for watching at home. I think it's imperative that we stand with Israel, and we can do that by supporting the International Christian Embassy, Jerusalem, UK. So thank you for watching Jerusalem Dispatch.
Catch the wind, he's carrying you.